start the show. The Good Life with DT. It's Spicoli. Welcome to the Good Life.
You are now listening to the Good Life Podcast.
Good Life. Good Life. These boys are crazy.
You are now listening to the Good Life Podcast.
Good Life. What?
Yo, welcome to the Good Life. It's Spicoli, DT, and we're joined by my new co-host on Sweet 98.5. Her name's Meg. What's poppin'?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
How are you?
Fantastic.
Not too bad. Just watching some bowl games.
Oh, did you watch my boys Mizzou last night?
I did. I was rooting for Mizzou because I hate Ohio State, so I was very happy to see that happen.
I couldn't believe they beat Ohio State. I was so freaking happy.
I can. They only got 2 weapons on offense, and neither of them were playing. So.
Oh, there's the asterisk. My God. Here we go. Thanks for coming on the podcast. That was Meg from Sweet 98.5. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, one thing about Meg, she's going to keep it honest. She's like, yo, Ohio State had how many injured players and how many people out? And then DT, he's a Mizzou fan, so he's like, well, our 2-star defensive backs weren't playing. Is that what was going on with Missouri or what?
Yeah, they had their 2-star defenders were out, man. So, I mean, hey, look, realistically, it's Ohio State, man. You don't get that excuse that you had a wide receiver out. You're Ohio State.
And I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah. If Bama pulled that shit, everybody would give them hell, man. So you want to be a top dog, you be a top dog. Missouri's not supposed to beat Ohio State.
I actually, going into bowl season, when I saw the matchup, I actually was like, Mizzou's a good team. They're going to beat OSU, regardless if they would have had Kyle McCord or what's his bucket who decided to sit on the sideline. Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah. So I mean, they were only ranked, 2 spots apart from each other. Regardless of that, I thought Mizzou had a solid team, even though, yeah, they had some injuries on defense, but I don't know. I didn't think Ohio State was anything to write about this season, so that's just how it is.
After that comment that Meg is now my other favorite co-host in radio.
Yeah, it doesn't. You know,
Just
one thing
tell it
about
like
Meg,
it is.
it doesn't take long for her to win you over. Like that's what I noticed right away when we met. Like she's very friendly. Like it's very easy to like Meg and root for her. That's what I love about you, Meg. Is like you're very just likable, and not too many people don't like you, unless you know. Is there people that don't like you? I think you're well loved by a lot of people.
Thank you. That's very, very kind to say. I'm sure there are people who don't like me because they've gotten on my bad side. And if you get on my bad side, then you'll know it and you'll stay there. So it's usually if you screw me over.
I will say he was very, very excited that you were joining. He pretty much described, he's like, dude, she has like the same energy as me. He's like, she's working as hard as I do. He's like, this is going to be awesome. So I'm super glad that you joined up with him because I think that's what he needed, and he's very excited about it.
Oh, I appreciate that. I was equally as excited, and I know this makes Jason feel very old, but I used to listen to him back in the day, and so it was just really cool because when everything went down ultimately and I accepted the offer, it was like everyone was like, oh my God, like you get to work with Spicoli. And I was like, I know, how crazy is that?
It's weird, right? Yeah. Like we'll go out to concerts together. And like, I mean, like I just do the podcast, you know what I mean? I'm not his status at all.
Yeah.
And people will be coming up to him and be like, dude, I've been listening to you since I was a kid. And I'm just like, oh
yeah,
it is weird. It's weird sometimes, but
I mean, I think Spicoli was what you said you were 24 when you started on your morning show. So that would have made me like 16. So I know, but right in the prime of like my angsty teen years. And so like it was, we were listening to that station all the time, man.
Yeah. I think at that time, there was something about that time, like the music was just right. We were in that emo phase, and I just happened to be at the right place in the right time in the right station. I mean, everything was perfect at that time.
Oh, absolutely. I miss it.
I mean, I can think of Meg. You may not know this, so we used to do stand up together. Me and Spicoli did. Like this was years ago.
I did not know that.
And the way our relationship is like friends really kicked off was he was like, hey, I was doing stand up, and he's like, hey, I really want to try this, and my mom and dad want to see me do it, and he was like, can I do it with you? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, man. And then he did like a show or two with me, and then I got a letter in the mail from him, and it was my favorite band back then was Bullet for My Valentine. And I got a letter in the mail, and I had 2 tickets to their concert, and he put me on the backstage list to go meet him. And I was like, "What, dude?" I was like, "All right, this is legit. Like, this dude is super fucking cool, man."
That's awesome!
Yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't know any of that.
I don't know if we've ever told anybody really that on the podcast before. That might be the first time we've talked about it.
I don't think we've ever brought that up before. But like people that treat me good, I want to treat them good too. And I mean, I just want to, if there's something I can do, and if it's your favorite band, like, I want to make that moment happen for you.
I think that's cool. And I also think that Spicoli, that's kind of one of the cool perks about being in radio and doing what we do is, and I'm sure over your long career as well as mine, if you've been able to shower people you love with our perks. And a lot of that is, going to concerts for free and doing that kind of stuff. And my family was always the first people to reap the benefits of that. My friends, and my boyfriend will be reaping the benefits of that, and he's really excited about it.
98.5, you guys are gonna see some super cool people, though. I mean, there's some badass artists that you guys are gonna get to talk to and go see, and I mean, are you excited about that kind of stuff?
I'm excited, yeah, because it was always the fun perk. My joke has always been what we lack in income, we make up in perks. And so, being able to go see a ton of concerts and, for free and experiences like that. It's not just being like, oh yeah, I go to these concerts for free. It's literally being just fortunate enough to have the experience to do that kind of stuff. And especially when you love music as much as like we do, it's cool. And when I actually was for this last year not in radio, and that occurred to me, I was like, man, like that's something I'm actually going to miss, is being able to be like, oh yeah, I get to go do these things and with my station. And that was one of the things I was going to miss, because that's what made radio fun, is getting to do that with your coworkers and your friends, is going to experience some of that cool stuff. So I'm fortunate. And when it dawned on me that was going to be a thing again, I was like, that's so cool, just because it's life experiences that not everyone gets, and that we're fortunate to have. So
I guess something fun for our listeners, you guys should both do this. Break down the day of like when you wake up and how that goes for that morning host, because I don't think people understand what goes into this.
You can start, Jason, because you start earlier than I do.
I mean, it's up at 2:50. It's getting planned and organized, ready to go on. I always tell Meg, like, I'm scared to go on the radio unless I'm prepared. Like, if I'm prepared, I won't be scared. And I think it just goes into the preparation of what we want to talk about. And based on like, the week that Meg and we were on, like, just for a couple of minutes all last week, and we were just having so much fun, and she makes it so easy. Like, our chemistry is already there. Like, she's a professional, she's gonna be on time and ready to go. And I think it's just planning out these topics and planning out just fun stuff to do for the show is really going to make this show really interesting and entertaining, and also like surprising. Like we always say, like, FOMO, fear of missing out. And I think that's what will happen in this show, because you never know what's going to happen next. And we got like just a bunch of new features, and the show's going to be revamped where it's really our own Spicoli and Meg mornings. And I think it's just going to be really special and just not what people are expecting. And that's what makes it great.
Just piggybacking off of what Jason said, like, he gets to the station like 4:30 in the morning. And so then I was like, okay, do you want me there at 4:30 or want me there at 5? Because like my biggest thing is like, I mean, being a sports fan, I always use a lot of sports analogies, but like a cohesive locker room is like, makes for a successful team. And so I'm like, what time do you want me there? And he's like, 5 a.m. is great. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So let's make sure my outfit's picked out, my bag's packed for the next day, so I can get as much sleep as possible while I get ready for the transition. But just like he said, being prepared, because my mentality is the same. If I go into a studio and I don't feel like I'm prepared, I feel like I'm not going to put on the best show possible. And that's just always been my career as a single host. And so, but also wanting to be there for your teammates and make sure that that you're prepared so that they're prepared, and it's just kind of all a full circle thing. So, but like you said, we've revamped a lot of things to make it our own, to fit our personalities, and our personalities are very similar. And we're super excited to get started on Tuesday.
So you guys are on for what? 5 hours? Is that 4 or 5 hours?
The first week
Okay.
we're doing 6 to 10, and then we're just gonna get warmed up, and then the following week, that's when we'll start from 5 to 10 a.m.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Up in the castle, evil mischief stirs.
Plan number 42. I shall turn myself into a cat and get adopted by the butcher's daughter so I can learn all her secrets. Then, I will use them to make her fall in love with me. What do you think, Wilson?
Hey, check out 1v1 Me DM on all podcast platforms to see more of Dracula's perfect plans at finding true love.
Okay, so on that, so you guys obviously, so you're talking 4 or 5 hours of material. Is that stuff that you and Meg plan out, or is that stuff you have like a script you go off of? That's something I've always been curious about.
Yeah, it's just it's just really just kind of planned out. Like we wanna know what we're talking about on each segment. So we have what's called a Google Doc, David. We have a Google Doc, and then we're like, okay.
Like I'm like putting happy birthday on Facebook for nobody. Happy birthday. Like, oh, there's Grandpa not knowing how to say happy birthday on Facebook.
So we have this Google Doc, and it has like, all right, you're talking about this at 5:30. We're talking about this at 6. And so we just have like everything kind of mapped out of like what we want to do. And we have special like features and segments. And sometimes we'll be doing like phone topics. Other times it'll just be like a one-off of something that we thought was funny. There's just a lot of different features that when you listen, you'll be able to hear like, for example, entertainment news is called like the feed. Like when people check their timeline or their feed, they're like, oh yeah, that's in my feed. So we're gonna have like an entertainment feature of like, oh, here's the feed, like, and then a couple stories from like entertainment news. And then we have this feature called Meg.
Trending
it's
topics.
like trending topics. And then there's a feature that we have like where once I got to know Meg, I was like, oh shit, like Meg knows sports. And so that's going to be a feature. Meg knows sports.
Yes, she does.
And she does. I mean, legit, if you talk to Meg, like one thing right away, you'll find out she is sports savvy. So it makes me want to make sure that I am on my game, or I can just shut the hell up and just let her take it.
Right, just hearing her
It's true.
talk, I was like, "Oh shit! All right, like she knows what she's talking about." Dude.
Oh, I live, breathe, and die by sports. I always have since I was a kid, and for a long time, I thought I was going to be a sportscaster for ESPN, and obviously the career took another turn, but it's a fun hobby, just from watching to breaking down plays on Reddit with other people. I started doing that. My boyfriend showed me a thread, and he's like, dude, people draw up plays and do all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And so I'm like looking at it and like, I love that kind of stuff. I just like to, if I'm engrossed in something, I need to know everything about it. And that's just kind of how my brain works. So I will always have a sports analogy or something, that has to do with it. It's just, I guess that's part of my being.
You're like the female Ted Lasso. I like it.
Yeah. I also, the biggest compliment I ever received from someone is that they called me the female Pat McAfee. And I love that because I love Pat McAfee so much. I watch him every day. And I'm like, that is one of the highest compliments you could ever pay me ever.
Do you know who, so if you're a huge sport fan, do you know who Jermaine Funny Mane Johnson is?
Yeah, of course.
I had him on the podcast before Spicoli joined.
Oh, no way.
He was a ton of, actually, he's uploaded onto our thing right now because he was one of the people before he joined. And I was just like, man, I got to keep that one up. But yeah, he's up on our list right now. He was a ton of fun to talk to.
Oh, I bet that was a blast. I have to go back and listen to that.
He deep dived into like the whole Nebraska thing after Scott Frost left. And, he was super fun to talk to.
Oh, wow. That's geeking me out a little bit. That's cool.
Maybe we can bring him back on and the three of us can talk to him. Maybe we should.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be rad, dude.
But the reason I asked about you guys planning that stuff out, is that something like you do the night before the radio show? So like, I know you're on the radio all day, and then like that night of, do you have to plan everything out for the next day?
Yeah. Usually, 50 to 75% of the radio of the show is planned out the day before. That way, we're all on the same page. Like, so once we get in there, it makes it easier. That way, you're thinking clearly. Like, I know some radio shows people who I'm friends with, they love like the spot. Being spontaneous and like, oh, we'll just kind of wing it. But that's never really been my strategy. I don't like that. I don't like scatterbrain, hot mess. Like we're like, oh, we'll just fly by the seat of our pants and we'll kind of figure it out as we go. Like to me, as long as I have a plan in place, and we can always like stray from everything, as long as it sounds good. Like you can feel it. It's a feeling that I've been doing this for a long time, and like you can feel like if you're flowing and you're doing good, like it. And when you're not, like it tells, it can show right away.
Yeah, I think we had that happen on the podcast. I learned that lesson with you, didn't I, buddy? I was like, Jason, we gotta just be improv, man. We don't need to plan this out. And he's like, yeah, let's try it out. And we got done. He's like, we're never fucking doing that again.
No, the one thing I learned about Jason very quickly was like, we will be prepared. And he's, for a middle child, he's very type A. And I am type A in a lot of ways, but very type B, where I'm like, I'm also very spontaneous. So for me to have like structure and someone be like, okay, this is how it's going to be, that helps me stay focused. And then also like gives me a plan and an idea. So I'm not overwhelmed with like starting from square one. And so that's why I think him and I already in just this first month have been so cohesive, is because he's like, okay, like he's done such a great job teaching me, like, this is how I game plan. And I'm like, yeah, give me that. And then I can, from there build off of it. And like you said, it's like, we'll plan, most of it the day before, but there'll things that'll come up like while we're sleeping, or, we'll see headlines in the morning or whatever. But then also we both understand, because we've been doing this for so long, that like if we go off on a topic and it ends up blowing up or doing something like that, or we end up riffing off of it really well, and we just know to keep it going. It's kind of like that. It's just an instinct. And so we've already kind of figured that out about each other, which is pretty cool. So, having a plan, yes, but then also be willing to like recognize when it's okay to be spontaneous too.
Absolutely. So how excited are you to be the new host on such an iconic, I guess that's a good word for it, man, radio station in Omaha?
Yeah. It's weird. Because everyone has asked me that question, and I think I'm still kind of in like pinch me mode for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest reasons being that like I didn't think I was going to be working in radio ever again after my last layoff, and I was ready to hang up the headphones. I was burnt out. I just wasn't loving it like I used to, and 2 layoffs in 3 years will really do a lot to you. And I wanted something more secure and whatever. And then it's just like the way the universe worked out. I'm still just like, I'm floored. And I've been so fortunate in my career, whether it was in Omaha, Lincoln, when I lived in Tennessee and Knoxville, to work for heritage stations. I have only been on 100,000 watt heritage stations, and that's pretty cool. I'm just very fortunate. So
yeah, and I think that whenever I think Sweet 98, I always think like big personalities. Yeah. And here we are. Like I feel like we have 2 of the biggest personalities, and you want swag, you want energy, you want attitude, you want charisma, you want all these things, and you're gonna get exactly that. Like I think when people tune in, they're gonna be like, wow, this is really different. Yeah. And I'm getting fired up. And that's what it's all about, man. I mean, we gotta wake people up. It's early in the morning. It's early as you know what, and it's our job to wake people up, get them involved, be interactive, be entertaining, also be vulnerable a little bit. Plus, Meg can sing. If like something bombs, then we'll just break out into song. Like she proved that last week, DT. She can sing, dude. She's an artist. I don't know if
I heard that. I heard you guys rapping. I did hear that.
Oh God!
Yeah,
rapping.
She can rap. She
no,
can
sing. I can't rap. I was forced to, and I was like,
bro, I wrote this rap in like 5 minutes, and I was like, yeah, you feeling this? You feeling this? Let's sing it. Let's see what we can do. And it was like a Christmas parody of something. I don't even know. Like I was just like Beastie Boys style, and it was it was special. And Meg and I we had a tag team.
Dude, so me and Megan were upstairs. My wife's name is Megan too, Meg. And we were upstairs and I was clicking on Facebook stories and all the sounds was coming through like my studio speakers upstairs. And it started playing and I went, what the fuck is this?
Those are my thoughts exactly, DT. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
Dude, it was so funny. Oh my gosh, that was great. I hope it meant to be funny. Otherwise, I apologize.
Well, no, it was.
Yes.
And
yes.
Going back to what Spicoli said about being vulnerable, like I walked into the studio that morning and we had to record this, and I was like, guys, I don't know if this is gonna work. And I was like so uncomfortable because I was like, I just didn't want it to sound bad because that's how my brain works. And then I was like, once we did it, I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty kind of fucking funny.
It was really funny. It was great.
Oh God.
Yeah, and that was the goal behind that. And next, I mean, I feel embarrassed now because DT makes beats. We should have got that Christmas beat, that special exclusive from DT.
Yeah, man. I make all of our music on the podcast. That's what I do.
Damn. All right. Well, that's good to know. I got to hit him up next time.
I think, you two are going to kill it in the mornings. I think it's going to be fantastic, dude. You're right. She does match your energy. Just talking to her from on here, I'm like, yeah, she'll be fun to have for sure.
Yeah, no sleepiness here, man. I mean, we're fired up and ready to go. And what is really cool about Sweet 98.5, what they're going to do is every day we're giving away $1,000. Like the money tree is rich. It's green. It's healthy. All you got to do to get signed up to win $1,000, just go to sweet985.com. And then starting Tuesday, January 2nd, just listen for your name. If we call your name, you have 9 minutes to call into the radio station and tell us your name, and boom, that's it. You win $1,000.
I won that like 15 years ago. I won $985.
Did you really?
Yeah,
I remember when they did that.
Somebody called me and they're like, hey. Yeah, they were like, hey, Sweet 90. My cousin called me and she's like, your name's being said on the radio to call in. So I called in and they were like, you called during the special hour because everybody else was winning like $98.50 or something. And so I called in during the special hour and I won $985. And then I had to go to Westroads because they were giving away more money off some Christmas tree. Yeah, I won that, dude.
What do you do with the money?
Come on, man. What do you think?
You bought some things. You bought some special things.
Yeah, things that I can't.
You bought brownies.
That's
so great.
Meg, I gotta ask you because we're gonna drop this on our Facebook, but we'll ask you and see if we can get them. We're gonna ask everybody what rock star should we get on in 2024 on the podcast? Who would be the one you say you should go get this person from what band?
If you can, Brent Smith from Shinedown. I know you got to meet him already, Jason, but like, holy shit, that would be amazing. Shinedown's been one of my favorite bands since I was a kid, and I just like, there's no stopping them ever. Like they have stood the test of time. I think that'd be fucking amazing.
They're not coming with Staying to Lincoln. That's Seether, right?
I think it's Seether.
That's Seether.
Yeah.
I haven't tried to get Brent Smith yet. All right. There we go. If I can get Brent Smith on, here's your invitation. You can come on and do it with us.
I'm holding you to it. We got receipts.
I used to drink a lot. I had gout when I was like in my 20s, like early 20s. And this fucking asshole would text me like, hey, listen to the radio station he used to be on. And I'd turn it on. And then out of nowhere, I would just hear the youngest person I know that has gout that's a Missouri Tigers fan. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Nowhere.
Getting called out.
You've been called out on my last station. I think I've called you out 1 or 2 times on Sweet 98.5. So, I mean, you've actually had a lot of moments. Like, you might have not even been awake where I've called you out. So,
Probably.
I mean, you're a bigger star than, I think I made you famous on both stations.
Yeah, that's the only reason the podcast is doing well, because they're like, oh, it's that mascot of Spicoli's.
It is a dangerous game being
Whatever
friends
it
with
takes,
someone.
baby.
It is a dangerous game being friends with someone in radio. And like, I always have told my family and my friends, and now most recently my boyfriend, because I was like, I will, like, you guys will be talked about because you're a big part of my life, but I will never disrespect you. But like, if there's something funny that happens, just know, like, that's gonna get talked about, because there's going to be someone who's going to hear that and go like, oh my God, that's so funny. That happened to me too. And like, those are the relatable things. But like, I was like, I'll never be disrespectful. I'll never cross the line. You know, I know what the lines are, but like, just know that if something funny happens or like an embarrassing moment or something we can laugh about, it's gonna get talked about. So that's just how it goes.
Dude, yeah, that's the coolest thing about the station you guys work for is that they know he does this podcast and they're cool with it. You know, I think that was our biggest hurdle for the first like 3 months when we were trying to do it. We were making sure they were cool with it, and they were super cool with it. So now it's just like there's no lines now. Now we're doing it, so it's super fun.
Yeah, man. I mean, for them to hit the green light on that and say, yeah, that's cool. And man, I was just super grateful that they were open to it. And yeah, and the fact that now May can come on and anytime she wants, I mean, be a little celebrity guest, I think is super cool. So it's exciting, man. I'm excited. You know, I'm grateful to be a part of this podcast, and I'm grateful that, you know, that Meg's joining me on Sweet 98.5. I feel like I've just met so many cool people over the years and get to work with talented people like DT and talented people like Meg. And I feel my best like when I'm around creative people like you two. So, I mean, it really means a lot to be able to be on this podcast and do the show with Meg. And thank you so much to Meg for jumping on the Good Life podcast. Can't wait to start the new show with you coming up on Tuesday, January 2nd. And remember to win $1,000, just get signed up at sweet985.com and listen for us to call your name on the radio.